Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. I'm Julie Livingston here for another episode of PR Patter, my weekly show here on LinkedIn, where I chat with the amazing people in marketing and public relations and communications from across my network. Today, I am really delighted to welcome Monica Talan. With more than 2 decades of experience in strategic communications and public relations, Monica is a dynamic entrepreneur. She's going to tell us about that in a minute. An award-winning leader in the field of communications and innovation. She's the founder of CryptoConexión. I hope I didn't butcher that too much, Monica. A Spanish language platform that educates and empowers Latino audiences on the topics of crypto, blockchain, NFTs, and AI. Launched in October 2021, the platform has already gained traction and recognition in the industry thanks to her vision and expertise. Monica, you have had such an interesting career journey. You've held corporate positions, and now you're pursuing entrepreneurship. So before we get into AI and new technology, I'd just love for you to share a little bit about your background and where you've been and where you're going.
Sure. Thank you, first of all, Julie, for inviting me. I love these spaces, and I love to learn, and learning with somebody like you, such an incredible leader, is amazing. Look, I think I follow Patty Seller's motto of the jungle gym approach to my career. It has never been a career ladder. It's been a jungle gym where I've jumped around different things, been in different industries. But ultimately, I think one of the things that makes communicators successful is curiosity. And that curiosity has opened many doors for me. From, my first role was in government. Then I moved to the agency side. I was at Fleishman Hillard for about a decade. And then I moved to the corporate side, working at Univision, ADT, and AT&T. And now I have my own project, which really was born out of curiosity and passion for communicating and empowering others. And instead of having somebody else do it, I thought, well, it was actually a good friend of mine who's in PR. I said, well, why don't you do it? Instead of pitching it to somebody, you should do it yourself. And so here we are.
Wow. And how's it going so far?
It's been great. Like, it's a learning journey. I tell people that I think I left AT&T like the month that crypto crashed. So it's been a very interesting journey overall. But it's fascinating because a lot of the people I'm surrounded with are very young. So I'm learning how they think, how they approach things. It's a very, I think crypto has a PR problem. People think about the crypto space as just the current cryptocurrency part of it versus the whole Web3 and blockchain ecosystem, and the real focus on public goods, on kind of empowerment. A big part of blockchain is decentralization. We could have a lot of conversation, but overall, just new technologies, how they're changing, even human interaction and every part of it, and how you as leaders and communicators need to look at it. So it's been fascinating. I learn every day. There's, with every entrepreneur endeavor, there's up and downs. I think we started our conversation me saying, here we are hustling.
Always hustling. I mean, I'm in my third iteration of being an entrepreneur, and I always come back to it. It's like something in our blood, right? That we kind of have to do it.
Yes, absolutely. And look, I think the first startup I was with, I was at an ed tech, and it was led by an incredible leader who taught me a lot about how hard it is. It's it's challenging in many areas, especially as you're trying to build something. But I'm proud to say that in October, actually, end of October, we'll be celebrating our second anniversary.
That's just phenomenal, Monica. I love watching your business develop. It's just really thrilling, especially in such an innovative space that you're in right now. So you had suggested that we talk about why communicators need to keep up with new technology, and I do find this topic so interesting because I've been in public relations, marketing, and communications for 3 decades. But but today, I do find that in conversations with a lot of my communications colleagues, there's this, I don't know if it's a reluctance or a hesitation. Maybe it's a little bit of a fear about really trying out new technology and kind of seeing what it can do for you in your work. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that. Then I want to hear about. I'd love your insights on AI and how you're using that in terms of strategic planning and implementation.
Look, overall, I think as communicators, we need to be. I don't remember when the first time I heard somebody say that communicators need to be the conscious of the company. And to be the conscious of the company, you need to understand every aspect of what can impact the company. And so separately, I think every company I've worked with in the past few years, everybody talks about digital transformation when we should be talking about digital journeys, because technology is changing so much, and you need to be at the forefront to be able to advise either your clients or your executive team on what you need to be looking at when it comes to new technology. It's also a lot of fun. I know it may seem like a lot of work, but it's actually a lot of fun to start to experiment. Now, I've been doing sessions helping leaders understand AI and how they should think about it, but I don't go in to say this is AI and explain the technology because I'm not a technology expert. But what I show them is the user cases, the different tools that are available, and the impact that it can have. I think there was a recent report on the potential impact it can have on jobs, but at the end of the day, the impact is going to be depending on how companies embrace it. Are we upskilling people? Are we helping people understand? Do we understand what are the areas that will be most impacted, and how are we going to readjust the workforce? So it's looking at all of those parts. But if you don't understand the technology, you're not going to be able to provide that guidance. I think as communicators, usually we do a lot of exercises about looking at risks, right? What are some of the risks that may impact our company? And one of the risks is how you embrace AI and how AI can impact your business. But if you don't understand it, it's really hard to capture that. I always encourage people in Web3, blockchain, and in AI, you need to start experimenting, start doing, understanding the technology, reading papers, doing courses is great, but you really need to start
Don't you find that, well, first of all, I just think that the discovery element of this is so cool. Like, it's so exciting. Yeah, you're going to fumble a little bit and you're going to trip up a bit, but so what? It's the discovery part is really exciting. And there's just so much that technology can offer us.
Absolutely. And look, at the end of the day, technology has completely shifted how we communicate. I mean, I think you and I remember when you couldn't even comment on the internet, and now we have social media, and we had to understand how it went from us just pushing out content to listening. But now it's not just listening, but how do we use these tools to have even a better relationship with our consumers or our users? And again, as communicators, marketers, we need to understand the technology to be able to do this. It opens incredible doors, but if you don't understand it, you're not going to be able to leverage it.
So can you talk a little bit about what the digital journey is? I love that phrase, but I'd like to know more and how you're using it to maybe in your business now.
Well, when you talk about a digital journey, you need to be looking at what technologies are available and what technologies may be coming down the pipeline. I think if all of us had known that ChatGPT would explode in November, I think so. ChatGPT was the fastest app to be or platform to be used by 100 million users. It happened in 2 months compared to.
Oh my God, that is astonishing.
And
wow.
So I think the fact, if any of us would have known that, I think we would all be having different conversations about AI, but it also created an explosion of technology tools. So I think there's a great website called There's an AI for That. I think the first time I looked at it, it had like 3,000 tools. There's now 7,000 tools on there that have been created, and it all stems from ChatGPT. So when you think about your digital journey, is that you need to be recognizing how you need to adapt your business based on what technology is using. If not, you're going to you may be disrupted by somebody that comes in, or you may not be able to engage with consumers the way that they want to be engaged with. So instead of talking about constantly transforming your company, you need to be really thinking about, how do I continue on this journey where I identify what technologies are coming, are available, and integrate them into my business plan.
Wow. And so how are you using AI today, and how do you think communicators can use it more? There's a lot of fear about ChatGPT, and people in my circle anyway have been saying, I'm concerned about it taking over my role in my company. And I mean, I think that the important thing for people to remember is that you can take yeah, it's a real time saver, and it can help you tremendously with research and combating writer's block and collecting information, um, you know, perhaps analyzing some information, but you have to then personalize it. You can't just take it verbatim.
Recently, somebody on LinkedIn, I'm trying to remember who it was, posted saying, I can now recognize everybody that's using ChatGPT to post
Right.
on LinkedIn, because they can be, right? Now, I will tell you, so to answer your question, because I could go on forever. Like I said, there's many tools, and each tool has its benefits and it has its challenges. ChatGPT is a great tool. ChatGPT has two challenges. One is that it has information up to 2021. And two is that it doesn't give you the source of where the content is coming.
Wow.
I will give you the example. I was going back and
So
forth.
you don't know how credible it is.
You have to confirm it, but I'll give you a perfect example. I was looking for a quote, and I wanted something very specific, so I kept on pushing it. And it's my new coworker, ChatGPT. And I kept on pushing it, and finally it gave me this amazing quote, and I said, who said that? And said ChatGPT. So it created a quote for me that I now need to attribute to ChatGPT, because nobody said that sentence. So I think you need to really understand what the opportunities and the challenges are. But there's different tools. So I will tell you, every day I use 3 or 4 when it comes to writing. I use ChatGPT. I use Bard, which is Google's tool. And remember, Bard is connected to the internet, so it can give you more accurate content, but you still need to verify it. The other day, it gave me like really inaccurate information about my own platform, so I need to figure out how to check that. The other one is called Perplexity. What I love about Perplexity is that it gives you the source, where the information comes from, so you can validate it and even get more information. And then the other one is called Claude, and Claude, you can link a report and it can summarize it in like 60 seconds. I think
that is amazing.
So that's
you can link an annual report or a metric
or a McKinsey report and say, can you give me a summary? And it gives you a great summary. And if it doesn't give you any, you can say, okay, can you now add more stats from the report? And then you need to confirm it, right? So I always triple verify it. So how am I using AI? I use it for content creation, to the fact that I think my team is like, stop creating content. You're creating too much content. I use it for research, for brainstorming, right? Now we can brainstorm with ourselves, because you can say, hey, give me, if you're creating a campaign, you can give it all the information about the campaign without giving specifics, right? That's the other thing. Don't share confidential information on ChatGPT or private information.
Right.
But I'll say,
you can get kind of swept away with it, right? And you want to be careful.
So I will say, like, I want to launch a campaign targeting women this age, etc. Give me potential names, and I'll come up with great names. Give me a framework with a name for it, for a specific project that I want to do. I mean, the content it creates, it's incredible. So I think, but at the end of the day, your point, Julie, is so important. You need to look at AI as a tool, because the thinking and the strategy is going to come from you. As much as AI advances, and even if a superhuman AI comes along, they're not going to know your executives. They're not going to know your business. They're not going to know your team. That comes from you. But if you can take the human part of it and combine it with the technology tools, you can have a great impact. But it's how you use it. The other thing I do tell people, most of these platforms say they're free. So ChatGPT has a free option and a $20 per month. Bard is free if you have Google, but most other tools have the freemium model. So you also need to be careful to see how much you actually want to spend on AI tools. And then if you're within your company, you need to work with your IT team to see what tool. I would go to IT and say, what do I have access to? So if you work with Microsoft, you probably have access to a whole suite of AI tools you may not know about. So finding out what's available through whatever platform or software you use. And then if there's a tool you really like, talking to your IT team and say, we think this would be beneficial. Can we do an enterprise deal? And so looking at different ways. Another platform
and then sort of maybe do a pilot program and see after 6 months, is it really delivering the kind of support and information that we need?
And it can build a great relationship with your IT team who's seeing that you're embracing it, but that you're taking them into account, because they may come back and say, look, you can't use that tool. There's this other tool, and maybe you can experiment with that and really create that relationship with
that. That in itself, I think, is so important. And I think that's such an important role that the communications, PR, marketing team has in a company. You called it the conscience, but we're also the connectors, right?
Yeah.
We, when we do our jobs well, I think, and I bet you'd agree, we are connecting with other departments in an organization and kind of bringing the best of everything together. And I think working with the IT team is such a huge part of this today.
Absolutely. And look, again, there's great tools. Another one of my favorites is called Beautiful AI. And you can just put a prompt in there and it gives you 10 slides. And they're beautiful slides. That's why it's called Beautiful AI. But it makes you think, right? Again, most of the time I've had to change a lot of it from the image to a content, but it gave me a really good foundation to start thinking about how do I want to frame this presentation, which sometimes can take a lot of time.
How do you, Monica, you have a team. How can managers bring their teams into this world and kind of instruct their teams to use all of these tools?
I think because most of our teams are probably younger than us, first I would ask, are you guys using AI, and what are you using? If you're not using AI, what would you be interested to learn? And maybe identify a resource, either internal. I think many companies offer different professional training where you can do sessions or find the training that's applicable, or again, bring IT. One of the teams, so I did a session with a company where it was part of their strategy session, and it was about how do you start thinking about AI. I showed them the tools, and I love the reactions when people are like, oh my God, you can do that. It's really fun. And so we did that whole session. And then the next day they were meeting with IT. And so they were able to have a very good conversation with IT, and IT was able to guide them on how to start experimenting with tools that they already had available. And so you can look at ways to, again, I think this is one of the projects where IT, or initiatives where IT can be really your best partner, not to repeat myself, but where you can really say, okay, what are the resources? I heard of a company that has, I think, an AI playground where people are told what tools are available for the company and people can play with those.
So you could really get to experiment.
Yeah. And
also get everybody involved. I think that's such a big part of it, right? Like getting everybody on the team engaged and involved in new technology and the possibilities, the potential.
And Julie, I saw a research report, and I need to find it, where employees actually don't trust companies to train them on AI because they think they're training them to displace them. But I think if you start to messaging where you allow them to experiment and give you feedback and tell you what they know and are using, I think you create that trust, right? Because it's more of a conversation versus pushing things, and asking them what are they nervous about and how can you help them overcome that fear. And if you are going to be looking at doing some reskilling and doing some shifts because of AI, really helping people understand the benefits and how they can learn. Ultimately, I do think some roles are going to be impacted. I think we even have to rethink about entry-level jobs and how we train some graduates, because those may be the roles more impacted, right? It's really easy now to write.
Most definitely. And are the universities today training students on all of these tools? That you know, I wonder how many universities are really having access to all of this stuff and really taking it very seriously.
I heard Sandy Carter recently talk about, I don't know if you know her, she's with Unstoppable Domains, how her daughter is taking a course at the university on prompt writing. And the prompts that what you need to give ChatGPT and all these other tools to get better content. And so if you are a great prompt writer, trust me, it's going to be on your resume. You're going to be able to talk about it,
right,
and have a great impact on your role. It's you could say it's magic sometimes, but you
but
learn.
you have to feed the machine. You've got to feed it.
That's the other part of it. So I'll tell you what we're doing. One thing that we did at CryptoConexión, which we purposely did it because we were studying and talking about AI. And so we said, look, we want to offer a ChatGPT within our own platform, but we don't want it to be getting content from outside of our platform because there's so much misinformation on crypto. And so we are working with a company in Mexico who developed our ChatGPT and only answers using our content. And that ensures that the quality of the content is there. So those are the things you have to be thinking about. And then on the other side, we all talk about SEO, right? Search engine optimization.
Sure.
Well, as these tools continue to expand and use, are you going to Google search or are you going to ChatGPT? If you're going to ChatGPT, it's not driving you back to websites. So what's going to be your AIO strategy, your artificial intelligence optimization strategy? So as marketers and communicators, we need to be thinking about what is that going to be the long-term impact and how am I going to address it?
Oh my God, this is such a fascinating topic. Incredible. I think we have to leave it at that. But Monica, thank you so much for being with me today. You've just opened my eyes and everybody else's to a lot of different things and a lot of possibilities for communicators and how to grow, expand, and really form deeper connections with key stakeholders.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for the opportunity. Like I said, I could talk for hours.
I hope you'll come back sometime. Everyone,
Absolutely.
We'll see you again next time on another edition of PR Patter.